It is July 9th, 2020. We're here at the back of the property at 7562 Caminito, Avola in La Jolla, California, 92037. We're here off the master bedroom, and we have a 3-inch ABS sewer clean out here right outside the back door. We have 3 bathrooms on the lower level, 1 on the 2nd floor. These 3 seem to be in line with each other, and the upstairs is vertically just above that. Just a little bit of debris in our camera lens. This might happen every time we go through that vertical turn, but we're going to wipe off our lens real quick here. Okay, so this is just our clean out access. Nothing is dumped into the system yet. We've got a little bit of standing water in the pipe right here. So right now we're underwater. We don't have slope on the pipe right here, or there's an object in the line or some back or buildup that's holding this water. But if this is only for the clean out access, then it won't matter, as long as when we get to the actual sewer and drain line, everything drains down and out. Okay, so we have a 1-inch camera head in here, and we did not put any type of centering guide on the front. We want to look at it first to see how far we go before we come out of this, what we call a sag or belly to the line. So we're still a little bit underwater. There you can see a little bit of feces. We just finally came out of that standing water. We're relatively far down the line right here at about almost 30 feet. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to leave the camera running really quick, and we're going to go ahead and flush the toilet in the downstairs unit here, and we'll see if that runs through with the water, where the spot that we're at. Okay, you can see the water that just flushed by the system, so we are definitely to the point where it connects into the bathrooms. So all that water just cascaded by the line. You can see all that feces that's sitting in the line right there, just at the edge of the end of what we call, again, this sag or belly to the line that's holding water. So we'll pull back once we go all the way out with this camera and put a centering guide on there so we can try to see some of the T-junctions, and then we'll locate and mark that out. But we'll continue down the line right here. So here's another T-junction right there that we just passed. I'm trying to get by this little bit of feces. There we go. So we've got a little bit more standing water in the pipe right here. Looks like some debris up on the line up here, but that does not appear to be anything like roots. That's what we're mostly making sure. Looks like just a little bit of flaking debris off the line. So we're back underwater again here. Still underwater. Okay, you can see just rolling by some more paper and feces. It's all just sitting in the line here. And you can see all that paper and stuff that's just sitting there. So we're still underwater quite a bit. You can see all that stuff that's just not moving down the system. This pipe, you can see if you look at the top of the screen, you can actually see, because right now nothing's moving, that the water line is quite high on the pipe. So more than half of the line is underwater. So for some reason, either again that there's a stoppage or some buildup farther ahead, or this entire pipe, just like with the first section we saw, was not installed properly, or there was some settling underneath the pipe. If they did not tamper and compact the ground, put the right material under the pipe, if the ground underneath here literally has hollowed out from groundwater that's run by over the years, and it can wash out the bottom underneath the pipe, and it can actually cause a sag or belly to be created. We've seen this at homes, apartments, and condo buildings that have slab leaks, which are hot water pipes typically leaking under, washes away, but it could be just regular groundwater, landscaping, rain, everything that's coming. But we're completely underwater still, so something unfortunately has happened here where this pipe has lost its downhill slope. So basically the line, of course, is supposed to be required by code. It has to have a 1/4 inch of fall for every foot it travels. So for every 4 feet, it has to fall 1 full inch. Additionally, the camera that we're using is one of the newest ones on the market. It has what's called tilt sense. It actually tells me the degree or the angle that the pipe is sitting at based on the camera head. Right now I'm at 0 degrees, and so basically I'm going to back up again a little bit more. It has to be -2 degrees minimum. Right now I'm at +1 degrees right now as well, so I'm backing up just to double check my fall. The -2 degrees is what gives you basically a 1/4 inch of fall per foot. Now I'm at +3 degrees. So the pipe was probably installed, of course, correctly when it was built, but we've got some more than likely undermining of the pipe underground, and that's caused this to unfortunately create a massive sag or belly, and that's why the pipe now does not have proper slope or fall. We're still at a + degree reading on our camera lens, so that's why we're still underwater. Just starting to come out of a little bit right here. You can see, we can see some of the pipe again, but not much. Okay, now right now we're hitting a little bit of a tough spot on the line right here. So let's see, you can see we're hitting what appears to be cast iron pipe, possibly, unless that's an object or some other weird buildup on the line. So there we go. So as we back up here, you can see this pipe here. This is actually cast iron. So we started with ABS, so maybe this house was not originally all built with ABS. Maybe something was remodeled or changed, and that's what caused that. So there you go. We can see that appears to be all cast iron pipe here. So we're going to back up here on the line, push through all this debris, coming back again while we have a view again. So again, it's possible we might have cleared some of the debris out of the line here with our camera going through, actually kind of essentially snake the line. So we're going to keep pulling back as long as we get a good visual here. We still have cast iron pipe. And this is what happens sometimes when we come back in reverse. Since we're not pushing and dragging the water, we'll get a little bit more of a visual. So as we come back here, you can see it creates that wave. Now it starts to get a little bit deeper again. So we'll put a centering guide on and re-inspect the entire pipe again to see where our ABS and plastic starts and stops. But even right here in this cast iron pipe, which is all solid cast iron, our camera is showing a +1 degree reading. So we're again not seeing specific downhill slope real well. Looks like a little coupling joint right here. Could be a T-junction where something's also entering in from the right-hand side there, but we're not going to run water just yet. We want to go ahead and keep pushing down the line while we've got a visual here. Okay, so here's us cast iron. This appears to be a T-junction here, so we're making a turn on the line. We're going to go ahead and push through this kind of rapidly to try to make this turn here. Okay, so you can see it's not making this turn. The way this sweep is set up on here almost looks like a sanitary T on its side, not a combo fitting. Normally when you have a T-junction on the side, which you cannot lay a sand T on its side, the combo has a long sweep turn to it. You wouldn't be directly coming into the T-junction straight forward like this, and that's what's preventing the camera from making the turn and continuing with the direction of flow. So we'll probably have to put another camera down in here that might have a slightly stiffer push rod to try to make that maneuver and that turn. So we're going to go ahead and leave this camera right here for right now. We're going to go ahead and pause the video so we can locate and see where this is at, if it's still within the property or outside the foundation wall, and then we'll grab another camera to continue down the line to try to maneuver through this turn. Okay, so with this first camera right here at this cast iron turn T-junction, this actually is in the front yard. It is essentially, if you're standing in front of the house from the sidewalk to the far right-hand side. Now on the farther to the left-hand side is where the city property line cleanout is, so that's probably why we see this turn right here. It has to make a hard right turn to go over and eventually catch the rest of the lateral that's coming off from the streets connection. So we're going to leave this camera inside right here. Just so you know, this pipe here on the front yard is about 39 inches deep. It's about 3 feet 3 inches deep. So we're going to go ahead and pause and put another camera in. Okay, so we are going to go ahead now with this camera. This is the same 1-inch camera, but it's on what's called the D2B push rod. So the first push rod, in case the plumber is reviewing this, was the D2A push rod, and this is the D2B. They're both 1-inch cameras. On this camera, we do have a 2.5-inch centering guide on there. So it holds the 1-inch camera, and then it has 3/4-inch fins all the way around to help lift it off the bottom of the pipe. Now we are in a 3-inch pipe. We're going to see if we can maneuver through here with the other push rod in place, because again, we want to go ahead and take a look at this sag belly to the line. Now, there's our standing water in the line. And what we're going to do is as we push forward here, now you can get an idea, this being raised off the bottom of the pipe a lot more, how much that's holding. And so, and you can see the debris that will kind of cake up and float to the top there and kind of line the walls of the pipe because it's not draining out. Now, approximately about 10 to 15 feet in, which we're coming up on here soon, is going to be where our lavatory sink is, our first drain. Now we do have the kitchen on the other side of the home, and that will junction in probably relatively quickly as well, but we're going to go ahead and continue to push through here, and then once we get out to about 15 feet or so past, we're going to go ahead and start running some water through the sinks here so we can see if we see the water and the T-junctions where that's dumping in. But you can see we're completely underwater still. Even with the centering guide, there's no visual whatsoever. So we're at 18 feet. We're going to go ahead and pause the video while we go turn the water on. Okay, so we've got the 2 lavatory sinks in the master bath, the his and hers, running right now, cold water. We don't see any water churning right here yet. Let's go ahead and continue to push a little bit farther down the line, see if we see some movement here shortly. Kind of coming out to the top of the sag belly here a little bit. You can see some water moving. It's actually floating backwards at our camera. That could be due to, again, a sloping issue that we know we have here. So we're going to continue to push down the line.
It looks like they could have been done yesterday. These are really nice blocks, and they did all the and if you wanted to show the front, that's fine. Just send me a feed, and then I'll give you the instructions.
We're going to move through this very slowly. We want to see if we can see that water dumping into the system. Now we do have our kitchen, which is pretty early on from the back of the house on the other side though, but it might run at an angle, may not tap into the main for quite a little bit. But
how is the boat in the different fees, or in terms of rental income, or in terms of them living there, or them living there?
You're seeing our other red push rod there. Okay, so we finally come up on the junction where those 2 sinks are dumping in, and that is right here where the line is actually open and out of this sag belly. So there's the 2 sinks that we have running. We're going to let that run for a minute here. We're going to leave this video recording. We're going to go back inside and flush the toilet here. We're going to pause the video for 1 second. Okay, we've got a little Wi-Fi unit. We're going to walk into the house so we can see the monitor at the same time. We're going to go ahead and flush the toilet. Okay, so we just saw on the monitor from the inside, you could see all that huge cascade of water that just ran by the system. That was the toilet flushing. So everything is starting and dumping into the line here at about this 30-foot mark or so. And other than we need to double check the kitchen to see if it ties into that sag belly part of the line, we're going to go back forward again. We have shut the lav sinks off. So we have no water running other than a little bit of residual that's finishing up here. So we're going to now push down. Again, there's our other orange-red push rod from the first camera. So, again, a little bit of standing water here, just a minimal amount, but there is some standing. This is plastic ABS pipe. We're going to start passing a lot of T-junctions that will pick up all the other fixtures for the other 2 bathrooms here, as well as the laundry, and then eventually the upstairs as well. So again, a little bit of standing water here, getting a little bit deeper. It's just not drained out. It does still appear to be ABS plastic. So you can see all that debris that's in the line there. That's just everything that gets flushed and put down the system. So you can see it's still holding water quite extensively, even with the camera off the bottom of the pipe there with this centering guide we're now using. Still ABS plastic and still... Okay, that's our cast iron transition right there. Here we go. So this is, as we back up right here, looks like that's our cast still. Okay, here we go. Right here is our transition. I'm going to try to slowly back up here. And it's just kind of hard to see. So this area is holding water here. This is definitely within the house. So not put in properly, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and push forward, and then we'll double check that slope as we pull the backwards area here again. So we're now in cast iron here. Again, you can see all the buildup from paper and other debris that's just kind of stuck in the line. Now, this may still all be a 3-inch line. It should be 4 by now. Our skid every once in a while might kind of bind up like it did right there, especially with the other camera that we left inside, which we will pull out here shortly. We just want to get to that one turn. Could be another few feet here. Okay, here's our other camera, it looks like, so we're going to go ahead and pull this back out. You can see there's our camera head, and it is going to jam up on the centering guide, so this may only be a 3-inch pipe this whole run, actually. It's kind of hard to tell, but our camera won't pull by the turn there. So we're going to push forward again into this cast iron with this camera and see if we can get by it. Don't know if we're going to be able to maneuver that through. No, probably not. So, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull back in reverse. We do want to go ahead and show that sag belly again within that 50-foot range we were at earlier. We want to mark this inside the property so everybody knows where we're talking about, which bathroom or which flooring area it's underneath. So, still cast iron here again, so something must have been dug up and replaced at some point in time for a remodel or whatever. A lot of cast iron still under the house. Okay, here's our transition to ABS. So you can see again, as soon as we kind of get into this here, we can see that little bit of standing water still. We're at the 53, 54 foot mark. There's still a little bit of water on the bottom here. Very minimal right here. So we're right at about 58 feet. You can see our push rod, the bottom of the line, very little water hanging out there. Very little bit there. So it looks pretty good overall. Just a little bit hanging here. So right about this 54 foot mark here, We're right here, you can see a little bit, so we're going to push forward just a little bit more right here, almost to the 55-foot mark. We're going to pause and locate to see where this is at inside the property. Okay, so we are in the very front bedroom. If you're looking at the front of the house from the sidewalk, the bedroom to the right-hand side, we're right about a foot or so in front of the foundation wall, about to leave the property here. The pipe is about 39 inches deep, so it's actually about the same depth we got in the front yard, but there's a grade or elevation change. So we're now going to back up again on here. Again, the centering guide kind of now has the camera kind of pushed kind of up. So there's a rubber boot right there with a connector, and that's the plastic transition right there. So we're basically 4 feet back from where we just did the location, which again was about a foot before you get to the foundation wall of the house. Now as we come back across here in this plastic, there's a T-junction right there picking up probably the bathroom from upstairs and the other bathrooms. Just a little bit of standing water there, not too bad. See, this looks relatively good right here overall. Just a little bit of hair and debris right there, coming in from a T-junction. There's our T-junction right here that picks up the master bathroom, the very first bathroom that dumps into the line. So now as we back up here, this is where we're going to start to go essentially under the water a little bit here. Some debris. Here's where we're back underwater extensively, but we're going to go ahead and pull all the way out. We're going to pull the first camera completely out of the system so that we can make the pass by that area. And then we're also going to go ahead and move our camera over to the kitchen line so we can see where that dumps into the system, of course, to see if it dumps into the sag or belly to the line. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so we've pulled out the first camera, and we have the second camera that we did put in, but we did remove the centering guide. We have some water just moving by the system right now because we rapidly pushed this camera through. So it's actually kind of pushing the water that's kind of hanging out in some of those areas with there. Nobody is running water right now. So we're up to this turn, and again, this is outside the house on the front grass yard. We're going to go ahead and try to push through this turn here to continue down the line across the front yard. There we go, we just made that 90-degree turn. So again, this is a 1-inch camera, no centering guide here. You see just a little bit of water on the bottom, but again, to be expected typically with older cast iron. When you have little deposits or scale and buildup on the bottom, it creates little miniature dams that kind of hold the water. Especially if the pipe doesn't have more downhill slope than is required. But overall, the cast iron looks really good here. Still minimal deposits, no root intrusions or anything like that to this point. Okay, now right here we have the original property line clean out. So you can see right here, that is a T-junction, kind of hard to exactly see, but as we come up to the edge here before our spring wants to make the turn, that's opening up vertically and then going down. So we do have the city installed a new property line clean out from when they redid the line with some PVC green bell pipe just to the right side edge of the driveway. But this is the original cast iron one the builder would have put in when they built it for their initial test. So this is going to make a full vertical turn and make a 90-degree turn here. It's a sharp turn. They use what's called a sanitary T to make this turn, not a combo turn. So you can see the water droplets hanging down the bottom of the screen coming off the camera there. It's a complete hard 90-degree turn. We're almost 90 feet out. We're not going to be able, with any camera, be able to make this distance, that hard 90 on this sanitary T junction for the original property line clean out. So it's just not going to go, but we know we have that vertically going down. But this should be a relatively short distance before we get to the next clean out junction that the city put in. And this one may be brought to surface. We need to go double check the front yard. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out of this turn and come right there, so we're horizontal again. We'll come right to the edge of this here. We're going to go ahead and pause and locate this in the front yard. Okay, so we've gone ahead and located this property line clean out, the original cast iron one. This is right in line with the city clean out. It's 4 feet away. It's on the far right side of the driveway under the grass area, and we'll move our camera to the front lawn to show that. So we'll also inspect from the property line clean out to verify what they did, either a relining or a replacement for all the pipe across. But we're going to back up across this original cast iron here. So it appears that they ran cast iron all across the front yard into the house, and then that was either transitioned or there was a remodel at one time. But it's possible they started with cast and then decided to put in ABS, depending on the age, literally the year when the house was built. We did find that some contractors started to put all ABS underground, and then everything vertically up would be all plastic, but some of the main branch underneath would still be cast iron. But it's possible they started with cast and then decided to switch based on what the home inspector, the city inspector I should say at the time, said they could go ahead and switch to. But it's only a 2-story home, so fire code does not require cast iron. They would have been allowed to build with ABS depending on the age of the home. I don't know what that is. So again, here we're running across the front yard of the house, heading back towards the bedroom that faces the closest to the street. Just our coupling right there. So again, very minimal amount of water on the bottom, so this is not a concern up to this point right here, where we've got a little bit more standing water right here. But again, it's not a guarantee that's going to lead to a bunch of stoppages, but it could lead to sewer stoppages because things won't flow out of the system real well. So again, we have no centering guide right now, again, just because we wanted to show all this and we wanted to make that turn farther forward there. So we're completely underwater here again. See, we're kind of bouncing out of it a little bit here and there. But there should never be any standing water in the system at all. Again, to point that out. So again, you can see as we push forward, there's just a lot of paper, feces, just the normal buildup, things that get rinsed off in the dishwasher. So this is the plastic. So they ran plastic most of the way, but several feet past the foundation wall under the slab, it is still cast iron. Not too many feet inside that room, but just a little bit. So again, here's where we're, again, getting a little bit better right here. Here's some T-junctions we're passing. And then we'll be coming up here real shortly to the first junction where the first bathroom dumped into. There we go, right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to push just a little bit past that, and we're going to go back into the line here about 40-45 feet in. And what we want to go ahead and do is we're going to move our other camera that we started with, and we're going to go through the kitchen line. We want to go ahead and see where that junctions into, if it's junction into the sag and belly that's before that 30-32 foot mark where the sewer line really starts, or into that. So we're going to pause and move over. Okay, so we moved over with our first camera. It's a 1-inch again camera with the D2A push rod from Rigid. We're right outside the kitchen here. And here's the kitchen 2-inch ABS clean out. We're going to go down this line. I want to see how this line looks, as well as more specifically where it junctions into the main sewer. This is all ABS pipe. See, this is open. Does not have any standing water in it, so it's got good slope right here. Cobwebs in the line, actually. Okay, so you can see right here we now have some heavy buildup in the line right here. We're going to go ahead and take a quick snapshot photo of this. Back up just a little bit more to give a little bit more perspective for another photo. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of buildup right here. Now I don't know if this is just all food and other buildup in the line that's gotten flushed from all the years. Or if there's a little issue with the pipe here as far as anything being crushed, partially squashed literally. Sometimes it can happen to a pipe when it's backfilled, or something's disconnected, or if it's hitting an uphill part of a pipe even here or into the main sewer. So we're going to give it an attempt to push the camera through this area here. It looks like what we've got is just a lot of buildup there on the top and upper walls of the pipe. We're going to push through this. We are still going, pushing forward here on the distance counter. We are completely underwater. Looks like we're coming out right there. So this looks like this is dumping into the main sewer right here. So we're going to go ahead and try to back up here slowly on the line. It's hard to say where we exactly made the possible turn into the system, but you can see we're quite a few feet still completely underwater. So we're going to go ahead and leave the camera right here where we're at. We're going to pause to locate to see where we're at under the foundation, under the slab of the house. Okay, so we are in the main sewer, and we are actually very far to the back of the house in the master bedroom. So this kitchen line does run straight across, not at an angle more towards the front of the house. It literally runs straight across from the kitchen, across the living room, and into the master bedroom. And where we're at the main sewer is this big sag belly that we saw from the initial drain opening from the back of the master bedroom there outside from that 3-inch clean out access. So that's why we're under this big sag belly. It's the original one that we see into the house. So obviously that's not good for the kitchen line, but the pipe itself should drain into it okay. But yes, as you saw when we first approached that turn, all that heavy buildup that was just there, some of it probably got kind of cleaned out from, there we go right there. We went through a little bit. But yeah, this could definitely lead to stoppages for somebody if they want to put any decent amount of food down their disposal, which get rinsed off constantly from your dishwasher, just dumping a little bit of leftovers, rinsing off plates. Yes, we 100% unfortunately cannot guarantee that you're going to have to be cleaning this kitchen line out all the way here out to about this 40-foot run. So you're going to have to run a pretty long cable. Typically we would probably recommend actually using a small hydro jetter so that you can really scrape the walls of the pipe. Now again, as we back up, the pipe's really clean until we get to that point, but at the ending point there, a lot of times a little cable and a little cutting bit on the end just kind of bounce things around. You really want to scrape that free because all that stuff is floating to the top, and it kind of sits there and accumulates around the circumference, as you can see right there. And a snaking cable doesn't really do really well. We do have a system in the market, it's been out for a while actually, called a flex shaft. It's a chain knocker system, but whether or not you could actually get that pushed out past this 40-foot mark or so, that does the same spinning action and cleans the pipe from top to bottom, side to side completely, kind of like a hydro jetter does. But we would recommend a hydro jetter is going to move through the pipe and get out to this distance better. You also may want to clean the 3-inch line where it tees into there a little bit before and after to kind of flush that out. And we would actually recommend doing them both at the same time, because if you do the 3-inch, it could throw stuff back into the 2-inch right here. And you want to clean that out. So you could do the 3-inch first and then clean this one out second if you do get a stoppage in the kitchen. So we are going to have to recommend that this is going to require some general maintenance on a constant basis with any kind of really normal usage. The main sewer itself has that little bit of sag belly to it, but it doesn't appear it's going to be too much of an issue, but we cannot guarantee with anything that's holding water that it's not going to bind and hold things up and lead to stoppages. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video and pull this camera out of this kitchen line. Okay, so before we move to the front of the house to show where the original property line cleanout is of the new one and look at that to the city, we do want to show this one more time, not to be too redundant, but we want to go through this pipe here to show this 3-inch ABS and the amount of water it's holding due to the improper slope, or what we call a sag in the system. So completely underwater here. This is actually already where the kitchen's now dumping into the system. We're about 14 feet in, and we know from the back door the kitchen ties into the line within just about 6 feet is the T-junction when we located it with our transmitter beacon. So we're going to push forward through this kind of fast. We know that this is all holding water constantly. The only thing good about this is that it's not for the sewer pipe off any of the toilets yet. So until we get to this, out of this sag belly here, which will start to slow down here, here's where we come out of the sag belly, and it's literally at the T-junction right here of where the first master bathroom dumps into the system. There's the T on the left-hand side. So again, as we back up here, the only thing that's dumping through this part of the system is the kitchen. But again, that can just be problematic for the kitchen stoppages on a continual basis. We can see from our little meter on our camera that we're level to slightly positive or so in a bunch of areas. And again, that's why we're holding water here. So we'll push back through here. Coming back out. Now here's where we're into the ABS. That's not an issue for the most part here. This is all plastic and just a little bit of standing water and debris on here. Nothing too severe, but still not a perfect line. We have no centering guide this time. We wanted to run this through one more time so everybody get a real view of what things going through. Again, there should be never any standing water in the pipe. We just want to point that out. But it's very minimal right here. We don't believe that this will lead to any main sewer stoppages, but here the camera's just barely underwater. Just a little bit as we kind of bounce the camera around here. As we come back out, we'll be coming into the cast iron here shortly. You can see there we've got a little bit of a view again, and here's the cast iron pipe right here. So this is just barely in the front yard or so. As we back up here, we get a better view, not pushing the water in front of the lens. So here's the cast iron, just that little bit of standing water. So definitely not sloped properly, unfortunately. And then we go into a little bit thicker right there, and now we're in the ABS in that front bedroom. So again, not great slope on the line. We can see from our incline on our camera head, it's at positive 2 degrees, and it should be negative 2. So that's why there's this standing water in the system. We can't say how often it's going to lead to stoppages on the line. We'll need to be snaked out, but it is a small issue in the system. So we're now going to go ahead and pause and move over to the front yard. Okay, so we moved to the front of the house. We actually have a vehicle, I think, pulling out. We may need to move for a second, but there you can see we have the little office room right here, and we have the other little bedroom to the far right. That's where the line actually comes out from. You've got the glass slider doors, I believe, over there. As you're looking at the slider doors from our perspective, it's just to the left of that or so is where the line comes out and runs across the front yard, over all the way to the front, and makes a full left-hand turn. We're going to pause the video for 1 second while the car pulls out. Okay, so it comes across the grass, essentially kind of underneath this tree, and then right here in the bushes, right here is where that original property line clean out is. And then just 4 feet over in front of that is where the city new one that they put in. So again, you can see this little line of bushes. So as we look across this line of bushes, it's right about here where we're tapping is where the original property line clean out is. It comes straight across, then it goes vertically down. It's going to make a 90 and then run across and eventually tie into here. Now here the city put in a new Greenbelt PVC pipe, and the pipe is really deep, so we're not going to be able to look backwards. You can see we're going to have to make this combo turn, and then it's just going to look across the line. So we go across here. Looks like that's relined, so you can see that they didn't dig up all the street and sidewalk. They dug up just for the property line clean out, and you can see the numbers and lettering there. They pushed the liner through to coat what would have been originally concrete or clay pipe. More likely clay for this part of town. Old neighborhoods even had concrete in San Diego. And there's our junction into the very big pipe there from the city that's collecting all the other neighbors from the street. So this line's all been redone with a reliner and this new clean out junction. So there's no issues there. So that concludes the recording for this property.